pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
This Reader's Theater, entitled What About You?, focuses on the theme of being an American. In order to accomplish this task, the main sources used will include various documents from the US government, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the US Department of Immigration, lyrics from the song Son of a Soldier, and This Land is Your Land, as well as other various quotes from first-person accounts.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another,
and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature's God entitle them.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
The Revolutionary War. In June 1775, Congress ordered General George Washington to take command of the Continental Army besieging the British in Boston. The first shots rang out on the morning of April 19, 1775, in Lexington, Massachusetts. The Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783. Great Britain acknowledged America's independence, and for the first time Americans set about establishing their own government.
I remember when you told me that you had to go away, and I asked you not to leave.
Yeah, I begged for you to stay.
but you said it was your duty, and you told me you'd be fine.
And you said that I shouldn't worry.
It was just a little time.
America's bloodiest clash, the sectional conflict of the Civil War from 1861 to 1865, pitted the Union against the Confederate States of America and resulted in the death of more than 620,000, with millions more injured.
But I wouldn't even talk to you. No, I wouldn't even say goodbye. Because I was such a strong boy, I wouldn't let you see me cry.
I know that you were doing something that you loved, and I know that you were doing it for your family.
I know that you died with your friends, Dad. How come I can't stop thinking about
Me.
World War II, one of the darkest periods in the history of the world, raged from 1939 to 1945 and involved almost the entire world. It was the bloodiest, deadliest war the world had ever seen. More than 38 million people died, many of them innocent civilians. It was the most destructive war in the history. For Americans, people knew what they were fighting: to defeat tyranny. Most of Europe had been conquered by Nazi Germany, which was under the iron grip of dictator Adolf Hitler. On December 7, 1941, Japanese planes bombed Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The next day, the US Congress declared war, taking the US into World War II.
And when I found out, it wasn't because someone told me. No, I came after school and I turned on the TV.
And there was your picture, staring back at me. And I remember the newsman saying,
My condolences to the family.
I know that you were doing something that you loved.
and I know that you were fighting for your country.
And I know you died with your friends, Dad.
But what about the promise made to
Me.
The Vietnam War was a long, costly armed conflict that pitted the communist regime of North Vietnam and its southern allies, known as the Viet Cong, against South Vietnam and its principal ally, the United States. The divisive war, increasingly unpopular at home, ended with the withdrawal of US forces in 1973 and the unification of Vietnam under communist control 2 years later. More than 3 million people, including 58,000 Americans, were killed in this conflict.
I got in the car today.
And I drove to your plane.
I thought you might show up, but it even started to rain.
But I sat in the airport.
And I finally cried. I guess I'm not a strong boy. I didn't even say goodbye.
The terrorist attacks of 9/11 confronted Americans with the stark reality of a fanatical enemy obsessed with the goal of destroying their country's institutions. It is now over a decade since the terrorist attacks in the US, simply dubbed 9/11, shocked the world and ushered in a global war on terror. The grave but very real danger is that this strangest of wars will never end.
And I know that you were doing something that you loved. And I know you were doing all of this for me.
I know that you died with your friends, Dad. So how come I can't stop thinking about me? About me.
Yeah, well, I just want to know, did you stop and think about me?
Yeah. Me?
What about me?
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union,
Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare.
And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution for
The United States of America.
to all our brave soldiers,
Sailors.
And airmen, thank you.
for your dedication,
Service,
And sacrifice.
for defending our freedoms and way of life.
Only a select few Americans can stand up, knowing that they answered the call to defend our nation during difficult times.
keep up the great work.
We're all proud to have you on our side.
Godspeed. I know that you were doing something that you loved, and I know you were doing all of this for me.
What about me? Americans encouraged relatively free and open immigration during the 18th and early 19th centuries, and rarely questioned that policy until the late 1800s. We are a country that values diversity, and that is why more than 1 million people a year from more than 72 countries become legal permanent residents. We are a country that values the exchange of ideas and knowledge. Immigrants' needs and wants in coming to the US are diverse and cannot be lumped all together. Some come as children, having no say in their parents' decision to uproot their life. Others come as adults because of persecution, abuse, war, famine, natural disaster, or other socio-economic driving forces that they make them stay and they leave their country, that make them to leave their country in search of survival.
What about me? Feminism is a collection of movements and ideologies aimed at defining, establishing, and defending equal political, economic, cultural, and social rights for women. This includes seeking to establish equal opportunities for women in education and employment. A feminist advocates or supports the rights and equality of women. Feminism began in the late 18th century with the publication of Mary Wollstonecraft's Vindication of the Rights of Women, published in 1792, and ended with the ratification of the 20th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which protected a woman's right to vote. Women are human beings and should not be treated like property. Feminism also emerged in the wake of World War II, during which many women entered the workforce. The central focus of the second wave of feminism was equality for both genders.
What about me? God shed his grace on me. It is said that Catherine Lee Bates penned the words to America the Beautiful from atop Colorado's 14,000-foot Pikes Peak. The view from her lofty perch moved her so much that 8 times she cried out, "America! America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea." Over and over in her poem, her poem asked God to provide grace to this nation. As I'm not one of those who believes that my ancestors climbed out of some sea of primordial soup, I find myself very thankful that God has indeed shed his grace on this country. Our American freedom is an amazing thing. I can say the things I want to say. I can worship at whatever church I desire. I can start a business. I have the privilege to have a dream and then to work relatively unencumbered in the pursuits of my dream. Take a very careful look around the world, and you're certain to quickly understand what a remarkable thing freedom is.
What about me? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Men fear thought as they fear nothing else on earth, more than ruin, more even than death. Thought is subversive and revolutionary, destructive and terrible. Thought is merciless to privilege, established institutions, and comfortable habits. Thought is anarchic and lawless, indifferent to authority, careless of the well-tried wisdom of the ages. Thought looks into the pit of hell and is not afraid. Thought is great and swift and free, the light of the world and the chief glory of man. It is very nearly impossible to become an educated person in a country so distrustful of the independent mind. Everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but not to his own facts. We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people.
In the shadow of this people, I saw my people.
By the relief office, I see my people.
As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking,
Is this land made for you and me?
Nobody living can ever stop me.
As I go walking that freedom highway.
Nobody living can ever make me turn back.
what about me?
What about me?
What about me?
What about me?
This land was made for me.
What about you?